Hi, and welcome to neo-varsity-live. I'm David Cassilo, got Scott Patsko and Joe Noga with us tonight, and we'll be discussing everything going on in Northeast Ohio football. Every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. you can join us, and this is our third week, and we've been having a lot of fun with it. And we usually kick things off with a segment called Opening Kickoff throughout the show, and when you hear these questions, you can tweet at us at #NEOVarsity, and we'll answer your questions or put your responses up live for everyone to see. So as I said, we'll be doing Opening Kickoff to start, and throw some tough questions at these guys, get some quick answers. First question, what's the most impressive thing you saw in week 5?
I think seeing Bay at the top of their region for the OHSA computer ratings. They haven't made the playoffs in 21 years. They're 4-1 right now. They got some tough games ahead of them, but they're in pretty good shape right now.
Joe.
Luke Sternad from Brecksville, 211 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, including the game-winning score to beat North Olmsted. Pretty impressive performance.
Okay, big question, will Glenville make the postseason?
Yeah, I've been trying to figure this out. Right now there are a few spots out, but they got 2 things going for them. Number one, most of the teams that are ahead of them have their toughest games in the final 5 weeks, and they have roads on their schedule. Roads can end up with 8 wins. That's a lot of good-looking Division II computer points if Glenville wins that game.
Joe.
I put the calculator down and I just said no. I don't think there's enough points out there for Glenville to get it.
All right, Northeast Ohio Valley Division. Obviously, it is a very tough division in that conference. How many teams make the playoffs, and how many teams? Well, the question is, how many teams win a playoff game? Scott.
I think 5 get in. Other than Hudson and Menor, the other 3 might be looking at a road playoff game, because they're going to beat each other up here in the last few weeks. So I think 2. I don't see going on the road being a good thing for those other teams.
And I went high. I said 4. I think Hudson, Menor, Solon, and Brunswick can each get a game in that first round of the playoffs.
All right, big game this week, Stow Hudson. What percentage chance do you give Stow to win the game?
It's at Hudson. I would give them a very small percent chance. I mean, I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I would be, I think, shocked if they go on the road and upset Hudson at Hudson.
Everything has to go right for Stow. I give them about a 15% chance. They can run the ball, they can play defense. I think it could happen, but everything would have to break Stow's way.
We see a lot of coaches throughout the year. Who's the most animated on the sideline?
Trevisano at Menor. Who else gets down on all 4s and watches the play develop? It's fun to watch. I think he's at the top of my list.
Joe.
Jeff Rotsky at Cleveland Heights, one of my favorite guys. He's a great guy to talk to, and you just see the passion in him on the sidelines, the way he talks to his kids and the way he works officials.
All right, team that's having a strong season, Berea Mid-Park. Do they make the playoffs?
I think it's going to come down to the final 2 weeks. They could go into weeks 9 and 10 with 7 wins, and then you got to beat Brecksville or Midview. They do that, I think they're in.
I think they stumble at least once before those last 2 games, and that pretty much eliminates their chances.
Team on a bit of a losing streak right now, St. Edward. How many games did they lose this season? They already have 2 losses.
I wouldn't be surprised if they end up with 8 wins. If the 2 wins is all they end up with. They beat Muller last year. Who's to say they can't do it again? Then St. Ignatius, that game is always a battle. It could go either way. So, I don't know, 3 maybe at the most. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't lose again.
I have them at 3. I think the Moeller game might be one that they could stumble at. It's at Moeller. They could lose 3 games in a season for the first time since 2011.
I think we all agree that Nordonia is the best team in the Suburban League. Who's the second best?
The winner of Talmadge and Highland in a couple weeks. I think that's probably what that game is for.
Yeah, I have Highland just because of the playoff experience from last year, senior quarterback.
Seems like everyone, or almost everyone, has a turf field at this point. What do you prefer, turf or grass?
As a reporter, I love turf. You got hash marks out there. Uniforms aren't muddy when it rains. I would say turf. Of course, I'm not the one getting tackled on the field.
I can always tell that it's September and October in Northeast Ohio when the inside of my kitchen is covered in those little black rubber pellets from shaking my shoes off after a game. I love the turf.
Midview had a big win against Avon last week, but who goes further in the postseason?
That's a big question right now because Midview is a big surprise. I still think Avon, maybe in their experience, they've played a lot of playoff games. They have a lot of experienced kids. I think the Eagles go a little further.
Just in the last few years, the number of playoff games that Avon as a program has played gives them almost an extra season's worth of experience. You got to go with Avon in that situation.
Let's take it over to the Portage Trail Conference. Who's the best team in that league?
I think Mogador still is. They play Streetsboro this week. 2 undefeated teams. That could change that, but I think right now it's still Mogador.
Hard to argue with Mogador. Crestwood's unbeaten. looking good, but if you look at the quality of opponents they've faced, I think Monroe is probably up.
All right, time's running out. Quick answer for a quick question. Who's the quickest player in Northeast Ohio football?
Dakari Carter, Division II 100-meter champ. I don't know if he could, who's. I'd say Dakari Carter.
Fastest I've seen this year, DeCavalon Reese from Benedictine. He's got video game speed. I saw him against Normandy, and he just runs away from people.
Great. All right, guys. Well, good work this week. We'll try you guys again next week. We're going to move things over to our trivia question. Every week we'll do a little pop quiz and ask you fans out there a question based on Northeast Ohio football. This one is very simple. If you've seen our top 25 poll, it just debuted on Monday night, and we've got 25 teams in there. And how many of those teams have an animal mascot? And you're going to have 4 choices for your multiple choice question here. Option A, 13. Option B, 12. Option C, 9. Option D, 20. So take a stab at that one. Why don't you go to Twitter, give us an answer on hashtag neo-varsity, and you'll be able to give your opinion, and later in the show we will give an answer. So right now, though, we're going to turn our attention to 3 very talented running backs. We have Demario McCall of North Ridgeville, right to my left. Then we've got Sherman Saunders of Lorain, and then London Cloud of Bedford. 2 of them are actually going to play this week, so they've been sort of enjoying this rivalry, and now they'll do it even more. As we go over to our first pep talk section, we're going to talk about questions related to on the field. We'll start with you, Demario. What drew you to the running back position?
My speed, me as being a child, and my community league coach, he saw me running out in the field as a kid, and he actually made me play football that year. I didn't like it at all, but then next year I came back and he grew me as a running back.
Sherman, why are you running back?
Growing up, I watched Jim Brown, and I liked him a lot, so I tried to simulate my game to him. And when I was younger, my ability to see the field and, for the open lanes and cutbacks and stuff.
London, what about you?
It's just something I played when I first came up from community league. They just stuck me at the spot, and that's what I've been playing ever since.
Now, you mentioned Jim Brown, but who are your favorite current running backs to watch in either the NFL or college? We'll start with you, Demario.
My favorite running back in the NFL is Chris Johnson. I compare myself to him a lot, and also McCoy that played for the Eagles. But Chris Johnson is my favorite running back in the NFL right now.
Sherman, what about you?
I would have to say McCoy from the Eagles, because he's shifty and I like him. He's fast, he's talented.
London?
Marshawn Lynch, because he's powerful and he also can be shifty at times.
London, you play both ways. What are the advantages and disadvantages of being a running back and a linebacker?
Some disadvantages is you're probably going to be tired once you get to the other side of the ball. But some advantages is you can also know what the running back going to be looking for when he get the handoff, probably the cutback lane, or to hit the hole hard, or what he coming for when he take off in the stand.
Sherman Lorain is one of the biggest surprises out there. What was the biggest difference between last year and this year?
Confidence and just seniors stepping up and making plays on the field and just lead game by game.
Demario, you've been in the zone all year long. What do you think has been the biggest difference for you as a player this year?
I think I increased my speed and my vision a lot this year. Last year, as being a sophomore, there were kids bigger than me, stronger than me, and taller than me. So I had to create something that I had better than them that they didn't have to make me as good as them, as better as them, and things that I know I can do better.
London, just how good is Bedford?
Bedford is really good. The last couple of years, people been sleeping on us because we haven't had good records. But last year was a surprise to everybody that we came out with a 9-1 record. This year, we're not really shocking too many people, but we're really good.
Sherman, you guys play Bedford, so I'll ask you, how good is Lorain?
Lorain is great. We got a lot of talent there and just a lot of players that make plays, but this year we just stepped up and we don't make too many mistakes in games no more and just focus.
Demario, you got Midview coming up. They're a team that plays a lot of high-scoring games. When you're preparing for a game like that, what goes through your preparation?
For me, it's all mental. I watch a lot of film on them. Like, there's not a day that went by since Friday night after my football game that I haven't watched film on them, and that I've been keying the routes that they run and the the way they'll come out their stance and just the way the QB look.
Demario, we'll keep it here with you. Quarterback hands off the ball to you. How quickly did you decide I'm going to take it up the middle or I'm going to bounce it on the outside?
I follow my fullback I don't care where he goes. I follow my fullback. If I see him up the middle and he gets through the line, I can get through the line also. But if I see him go up the middle and he doesn't, I bounce it.
Sherman, same question for you.
Since we haven't had a fullback in years, it take me at least 0.1 seconds. I just look at the line and I can tell or I can't tell.
What about you, London?
I go based off depending on how the defender is coming in. I just go off that depending on if I think he can tackle me or not, because you always go fast or straight. So if I think he can't tackle me, then I'm just going to run him over.
Demario, would you rather run over someone, juke them, or use the spin move to get by them?
I'll rather make somebody miss than run them over or spin, because when you spin, you don't see other people who's going to try to cheap shot you or whatever, and I'd rather just make them miss than trying to run right through them.
Sherman, what about you? What's your move?
I'd rather use a stiff arm, but out of them two, I'd rather get past somebody.
London?
I'd rather run them over.
That's what I figured.
I'd rather run them over because if you keep running them over for the whole game, sooner or later in the fourth quarter, they're going to wear down, then you can make them miss.
All right, last question for each of you. You're on the goal line, you go up over the pile trying to get in. What's that feeling like?
It's a great feeling, because when you're already over the line and you know you in, you look at the ref, wait for him to put his hands up, and you feel good about it.
Sherman, what about for you?
I feel great. I feel great jumping over the line and just making plays, and your offensive line did it for you.
London, I know you like to go through guys, but when you do jump over a pile, what's that like?
It feels great because I help my team put some points on the board, and then with my team, like we all pick like superheroes. So I'm Iron Man, so I just feel like I'm flying.
All right, 3 great running backs here. We'll have them back a little later for some more fun off-the-field questions. Now we're going to take you over to a video. I'm sure a lot of you have been out at football games this year, and you might have noticed some things flying above you, and we're going to tell you a little about them. They're drones. They're out in the football field, and our reporter Stephanie Kuzanim's got a story for you, and trust me that this story will not be one you want to miss.
The lights that are blinking all over the back indicate whether it is. It actually wasn't that hard. It's just I brought it out during practice, and when they saw it go up there, they loved it. So they were like, "Yeah, let's do this. This is great." It's fun. It's kind of like paving the way to something like a whole new part of just filming, and it's just really nice. Like telling everyone, it's like, oh, this is what it does. Showing them the video. They love it. You can land better than I can land it, which is actually really embarrassing. Because of the wind, it's not like super strong today, but it's the gusts are what worry me because of how.
Off the back, here we go. Hey, huddle up, let's go.
All right, welcome back, and we're going to go to our high school roundtable segment. Each week we pick a topic to talk about, and we kind of throw it out to you to get some feedback, and usually football related. And this week it has to do with who the player is who's having the best season in 2014. A lot of options out there, and we threw out a post this morning asking for your feedback. One of the replies we got is from SRB 417, which I'm assuming is a robot. He did have a good take though. Troy Dupree, linebacker at St. Edward, 57 tackles, 2 sacks, interception, a lot of deflects. He's on the field all the time. I think he's a real good choice, especially for the defensive side of the ball. A lot of people on the offensive side of the ball have been putting up big numbers. What's your take so far?
Well, like you said, defensively, it's hard to quantify. So a lot of these Player of the Year candidates are going to be offensive players because you can roll up statistics. Kid who's been eating up a lot of statistics, 16 touchdowns in 5 games, about 40 yards short of 1,000 yards rushing. Jayson Gobble from Stow. We're going to hear from him a little later on, but Jayson's just been having a fantastic season. Early, they haven't gotten to the meat of their schedule yet, the Bulldogs have, but they're about to face a big test on Friday, and we're going to see for sure whether Jayson can back those numbers up by repeating it against Stow, or against Hudson.
Well, we heard from Demario McCall a little earlier, and he's got 23 touchdowns through 5 games, which is kind of insane, but I'm going to go with another Lorain County player, Dustin Crum of Midview, who I think I talk about every week. But for a sophomore, what he's done I think is kind of incredible. He's 71% completion rate, almost 500 yards rushing, 1,200 yards passing, about 16 total touchdowns. He's kind of the catalyst for that team. He's got 2 last-minute touchdown passes to win games. Of course, he was at the front of that 83-point blitz a couple weeks ago. So I think, for me, Dustin Crum through 5 weeks has been the best player.
Okay, we're going to transition now into our social blitz. Every week, we, on Neo-Varsity Live, we encourage you guys to get online, get in on Twitter, and tweet at us. Hashtag NEOVarsity, at NEOVarsity is our Twitter handle. We will respond to you one way or another through that account. One thing that we've been really encouraged by in the last couple of weeks in our top 25 poll, we've had some great discussions in there and some great conversation and give and take back and forth with folks who have really strong opinions about the top of the poll or who should be included in the bottom of the poll. The exchanges that we have with you guys are genuine. We look forward to making that connection and going with that. So now we're going to move forward with our game time segment. It's game time, and I am joined by Jayson Gobble, the aforementioned running back, junior from Stow, the 5-0 Bulldogs. Jayson, it's great to have you here.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing real good. Jayson coming off a 240-yard, 2-touchdown performance against Shaker Heights this week. A lot of fun out there on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. I mean, our team really worked together, so all one was playing.
Well, you and the Bulldogs are unbeaten on the field this season, 5-0. We're going to see how good you are at one of our games here on Neo-Varsity Live. We're going to play a game that we came up with called the Galloping Gobbler, named in honor of you. What I did was I went online and I found out the average land speed of a North American wild turkey is 15 miles an hour, according to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Jayson, you're probably a little bit faster than that. I think the average human's about 27.8 miles an hour. I'd say you'd probably be a little faster. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'd be maybe just a little bit faster than that.
Just a little bit? Okay. Yeah. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you an animal, and you tell me if its average land speed is faster than that of a wild turkey at 15 miles an hour or slower. You need to get 4 in order to win the game. You ready?
Okay.
All right. So we're going to start with the domestic pig.
I'm going to say that's less.
You're right. The domestic pig, 11 miles an hour average land speed. The black mamba snake.
I'm also going to go with that as less.
That's incorrect. The black mamba is 20 miles per hour average land speed. How about the giraffe?
Let's go with more.
Correct. The giraffe, 32 miles an hour average land speed. The squirrel.
More.
Actually, the squirrel is slower. He's 12 miles an hour average land speed. You got 2 out of 4 so far, 2 out of 5. Let's keep going here. The elephant.
Less.
Elephant clocks in at 25 miles an hour, faster than the wild turkey. All right, the chicken.
Less.
Slower, actually, 9 miles an hour. All right, last one. The grizzly bear.
More.
Actually, you're correct. It's 30 miles an hour for the grizzly bear. All right, Jayson, I believe that's 4. I think you got those correct. And let's just really quickly look ahead to Hudson this week. Both teams 5-0, big game for both of you guys. What should we expect to see on the field this week, Jayson?
I think it's going to be a hard-fought battle. I mean, best team's definitely going to come up on top, though.
All right. There you have it, Jayson Gobble of the Stow Bulldogs. Look for them Friday night against Hudson. And now we are going to transition into our next segment. Our reporters were out at games this past weekend, and we took some video interviews. I believe Jayson might actually be featured in one of those, so keep an eye out for. Here is our post-game rewind segment.
All right, a little technical difficulties on those videos, but now we're back with three players who very rarely have some difficulties. And we got some off-the-field questions for the three of them. Before we get started, Demario, you've got a really sweet grill there, and I want you to show it off and tell me about it.
Yeah, I actually bought this the start of my junior year. I got it because Chris Johnson had one.
All right.
And that's my role model.
All right, great. Nelly and Paul Wall would be proud. All right, so now, the question for all of you. We'll start with you, Demario. Who's the best running back in NFL history?
The best running back in NFL history, I would go with Barry Sanders. I like Barry Sanders a lot because of his vision and his ability and his speed.
Sherman, I think I know your answer based on an earlier answer, but go ahead.
I had to say Jim Brown because he run over people, and I just like Cleveland. He took us far.
London, what do you think?
Jim Brown.
Jim Brown? All right, that's the consensus. Who's got the best helmet in the NFL, Demario?
That's a hard question, but I'll go with Chris Johnson.
All right, so you're going Titans.
Yeah.
Sherman?
I had to say the Seahawks.
The Seahawks?
Yeah.
What do you think, London?
The Buccaneers.
Buccaneers? New helmet. Yeah. All right, what is each of your pregame meal, Demario?
Before every game, I go to McDonald's and I get a small water, a small fry, a McDouble, and a McChicken.
All right, he likes Chris Johnson, but he eats like Chad Johnson. All right, Sherman.
I want to say Subway, Italian BMT from there, or spaghetti.
All right, London?
We eat as a team for pregame meal. We got Bearcat moms, and they cook us something different every time. Like we got sometimes pasta, sometimes sandwiches, it's different stuff every time.
Great. All right, Demario, what's your favorite class in school right now?
My favorite class in school right now is language arts.
Mm-hmm.
I like language arts because, we do a lot of stuff as a group, and we get to tell the class about, we usually tell the class about our life and stuff. We read a lot.
Sherman?
I would say how the theater, acting class, being on stage.
Cool. And London?
English 4, British literature.
All right. You got some really demonstrative coaches out there. What's something your coach says all the time?
My coach says, if you make a mistake, get back up and make them pay.
Sherman?
I always have to say players make plays and make names for themselves.
And London?
Feast or famine.
All right. Those are going to be raised to the bar. It says that a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Now, what about, let's switch over to music. Who do you like better, Kanye, Drake, or Kendrick Lamar?
I go with Drake.
Drake. Sherman?
Neither, but if I had to pick, I'd pick Kanye West.
All right. London?
Kanye.
Kanye. All right, great. Each of you now, who's your celebrity crush?
I go with Iggy.
Iggy?
Yeah.
All right. Sherman?
Beyonce.
Beyonce? London?
Nicki Minaj.
Nicki Minaj? All right. You're playing a game. Would you give up a game-winning touchdown to go out with your celebrity crush?
No, I'm catching my game-winning TD.
Sherman?
It wouldn't be a chance, no.
London?
No.
No? All right. If you could have any quarterback in NFL history throw you a pass, who would it be?
I say Michael Vick.
Michael Vick?
Yeah.
Sherman?
Cam Newton.
Cam Newton? London?
Mike Vick.
Mike Vick? All right. What's the last really good movie you saw?
I can't remember. But the last good show I saw was Law and Order.
Law and Order. All right. Regular or SVU?
SVU.
All right. Sherman?
Boys in the Hood.
Boys in the Hood. Good movie.
Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes? All right. Last question for all of you. Gatorade or water? What do you prefer?
I'll go with water.
Water? Sherman?
Gatorade.
Gatorade? London?
Water.
Water? All right, guys. Well, we appreciate it. Thanks for joining us. And check them out on Friday night. They're going to have, all of them are involved in big games this week. So it should be fun to watch. Now, we're going to take you back over to the trivia question that we asked earlier. We actually got a response here from KJ, and she believes that the option was number 3. But unfortunately, KJ, the option is 13, which was B. And that is the number of teams in the top 25 to have an animal mascot. So you can try our trivia question next week, and always get involved with hashtag neo-varsity. And we'll keep it going next week and see if anyone can get a correct answer. Before we get into our last segment, we've had a segment called Film Session, where we're encouraging people to put their videos out to us, tweet it at hashtag neo-varsity, and we got a response this week from Brookside, a parent over there who had a play from a Brookside game, and he submitted it, and here it is today. All right, touchdown Brookside. Now we get over to our last segment here. It's called Could, Should, Will. We've been doing this. This is now our 3rd week where we make a prediction that could happen, should happen, and will happen. Right now, not going too well for me. I've gotten 1 out of my 6 right, but these two over here both have 4 right. Props to Joe. He picked Madison last week as one of his locks. He said that they will definitely beat Chardon, and they did. So now we will go over to week 3 of our game, and we're going to start with what could happen this week. And I think what could happen is Solon could improve to 6-0. They have a very tough game on a Thursday night against Mayfield, but I think Solon could win.
You know, every team on Twinsburg's schedule has at least 4 wins, except for the team they play this week, which is 1-4 North Royalton. So I think Twinsburg could win its first game this week.
Joe.
I've got Garfield Heights could beat Brush for the first time since 2011. The Bulldogs come in at 4-1.
Big game down in the Akron area, Walsh Jesuit and Archbishop Hoban. I think Walsh Jesuit is the better team, and they should win.
You know, I'm going to stay with that game. Actually, I think Walsh Jesuit and Archbishop Hoban should be decided by less than a touchdown.
All right, and Joe.
Well, we just talked to Demario McCall. Demario McCall should rush for 130 yards and 3 touchdowns against Midview, based on splitting the averages and what the middies gave up the last couple of weeks on the ground.
All right, he's in the room. It's in his hands now. Your fate. And now what will happen? The team has had a very nice start to the season. Gilmore, they're 5-0 right now, and I think they will improve to 6-0 with a win over Danville.
You know, I think Mentor will end up having its 2nd shutout in 3 games. I think their defense is playing really well, and I think they'll have a good time with Shaker Heights.
Joe.
I'm going to go with Talmadge. Talmadge will beat Revere and move to 6-0.
All right, great. Well, that's all for this week here on NEO Varsity Live. Remember, you can get involved at hashtag NEO Varsity. And if you can't make the show or you want to get your comments in early, we do put a post up earlier in the day on Tuesday. If you have questions for the guests or want to suggest anything for the show, we'd love to hear from you, and I will almost guarantee it that will make it onto the air. So for Dave Cassilo and Scott Patsko and Joe Noga,